My dad and the members of his church are doing a survey on why young people stop coming.
I thought that I would contribute to the survey. I just got off of work, so please excuse my face for being oily or not looking its best right now. And shout out to Prince Nappy for tagging me in this video. I watched his video. It was pretty cool and really good. And I thought that maybe I'd make a video too. So when it comes to the reasons why people aren't going to church or they're stopping to go to church, it's not a black or white kind of thing. It's a gray area. People have multiple different reasons, and I think all of those reasons are valid. In this video, I'm just simply going to talk about mine. So everyone knows my backstory. I grew up Roman Catholic and I was very faithful to God. I prayed to God and I loved God and I genuinely wanted a relationship with him until, I realized that God really wasn't trying to have a relationship with me. Coming out of high school, I wanted to be a missionary and save people from going to hell, spread the word of God. I debated atheists and I lost. Then I went back into my community to really see if maybe what I was taught wasn't wrong. And upon going back to my community, I found out that a lot of people who were telling me how to live my life were indoctrinated and didn't do any research, didn't ask any questions. Some of them haven't even opened up the Bible, yet they were so confident that God existed and were trying to tell me how to live my life, tell other people how to live their life, even to the point of physically assaulting people, smashing people's heads into brick walls, spitting on people, or just any kind of physical punishment. For me, the reason I stopped going to church is because I realized that the older generation doesn't give a fuck about what the younger generation has to say. Let me preface this by saying there's a lot of people from the older generation that are Christian that are on this app that have been very kind to me and I appreciate them and they've helped me through situations that I'm going through and they keep and continue to give me good advice and be there for me. This applies to people of the older generation on this app and off this app. There are plenty of examples of good examples of the older generation. But when it came to my encounters, I was struggling with Christianity. Christianity had been destroyed for me by these atheists, and it wasn't making sense. And a lot of people hadn't done their research, people that I depended on to guide me through the world, and they had zero sympathy for me. It seems as if the older generation and Christianity's narrative or incentive is to get people to adhere to God, to follow God, to make God a priority and be the best Christian that they can be, but they're not concerned with your personal problems. They don't care about your fear for hell. They don't care about any questions that you have. When you ask questions, you're punished for asking questions in certain communities. They don't care about how you go into the public and you interact with other ideas and how Christianity is not standing up to those ideas and how this is affecting your intimate relationships or your friendships or relationships of any kind. For me, the older generation's goal was to indoctrinate the kids to follow the ideas that they thought were right, ideas that they couldn't even justify when the kids asked questions, and therefore asking questions and pointing out flaws in Christianity was frowned upon. And this is especially common in the Nigerian community in which I grew up in. A lot of ideas were pushed that I didn't really support or I thought were icky, and as a kid, our role is to follow, and the leaders are not to be questioned, and they don't care about how these ideas affect us and what trauma that we're going through. Another example of this is how when I was a kid, I had Nigerian people telling me that I was supposed to marry a Nigerian woman and that I couldn't marry a American woman or a woman of any other race or culture. Instead of judging people by their character, they judge people by their their ethnicity. Any questions that were brought up were dismissed or disguised as maybe I wasn't faithful enough. Maybe I need to pray to God and be more faithful. All of my worries didn't matter. All of my fears, all of the emotional things I was going through didn't matter. None of that mattered. What mattered was, are you going to worship God or not? And that's the vibe that the older generation was on. There came a day where I got tired of pleasing people and trying to make everybody happy except for myself, and these people genuinely didn't care about actually loving me for who I was or really trying to understand why I was unhappy and the problems I was having with Christianity. And yeah, there came a point where I just said fuck it and I decided to stop going to church. They aren't concerned with our problems. They just want to know if we're going to give our support and follow God. And upon doing this and upon like informing the people that I wasn't going to be going, it was met with resentment. I was the black sheep, I was the bad kid, and I didn't have enough faith and yada yada yada, a bunch of excuses except of trying to understand where I was coming from. And I feel like maybe the reason, at least for me, like the younger generation is not coming to church because first off, they don't see any reason why they should come to church. I think if Christianity is true, I mean, like education should be a priority, and everyone should be, and people should be able to justify the faith. People can't justify the faith. People don't read their Bibles. People don't have education. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know how to justify this belief, and so it seems silly. And I mean, a bunch of atheists and every other religion are taking shots at it and trying to see if like they can justify their faith. Like, why would I continue to believe in Christianity if, like there's no reason for me to, or it doesn't make sense. Another reason is like people aren't going to church anymore because again, they care about who's going to come and make donations. They don't care about what you're going through or what your personal issues are. They don't give a fuck. They just want you to worship God, and if you don't, it's a problem with you, and it's not a problem with the religion. Sorry for the super long video. I hope that you watched all the way through. I'm not a perfect person, and there's a lot of stuff that I need to like work on. But to end this video, here's advice I would give to people. At the end of the day, regardless of religions or what people say, whenever you go home or whenever you go to your apartment or whenever you're by yourself and you're sitting alone in a dark room about to go to sleep, right? Or not even that, whenever you're in your like darkest moments, you're alone. It's only you. And you need to make whatever choice is best for you. What makes you comfortable, what makes you happy. People can give you advice, but if someone's trying to force you to adhere to their advice, they don't care about your well-being. They care about their agenda and pushing their agenda. Nobody's going to walk in your shoes. You are going on this journey of life. You feel the pain and the struggle that you go through, and you should be proud of yourself for overcoming that struggle. Don't let people bully you into being Christian. Like, you make the choice of what you believe in, what you don't believe in. And if people can't provide you with good enough information, or if you study it and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't deserve your time. And you shouldn't feel bad for not giving it your time. You should do what's right. You should make the best choices that you can make. Try to make choices that take into consideration other people, but you need to take care of yourself. And yeah, if people aren't willing to listen to you and like understand your struggles, then they don't deserve to give you advice, or they don't deserve your obedience to the advice that they're giving you. And that's really all I have to say. Hopefully I covered everything. um Feel free to ask questions in the comments. There's probably some details that I left out of why I stopped going to church, but this is all I've got.